Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for sending over that meta-analysis. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Today, we're diving into the value of pretend play for social competence in early childhood.
Right.
And this isn't just one study. It's pulling together findings from, 34 different studies?
That's right, 34. So it gives us a pretty broad view.
Our mission, then, is to unpack what this research compilation tells us about how, well, playing make-believe affects kids' social skills roughly between ages 3 and 8.
Exactly. The power of a meta-analysis like this is seeing those bigger patterns. What's the overall scientific consensus,
Mm-hmm.
And the core question they tackled was pretty direct. How much and in what ways is pretend play linked to social competence in early childhood?
And you can see why it matters, right? The study itself points out that problems with social skills early on, well, they can link to toughy things later.
Definitely. Things like aggression, anxiety, even academic struggles, and peer rejection.
So figuring out what helps build those skills young, that seems really important for development. Okay, so let's get specific. Pretend play, social competence. What do these terms actually mean here?
Good place to start. So pretend play is defined as that as-if activity. Kids using imagination.
Like with objects, actions, roles.
Exactly. Using objects differently, acting things out, taking on roles, playing with ideas. They bring up Vygotsky's view that kids use these imaginary situations to kind of make sense of the world.
Right, like practicing life.
Pretty much. Think about kids playing shop. They're not just told how to act, they watch, then they play it. They're sort of internalizing social rules and practices.
Okay, the cardboard box spaceship idea. Got it. But is there a more detailed breakdown of what makes up pretend play?
Yep. They use a definition from Thompson and Goldstein that hits 5 key elements. First is object substitution, the box becoming a spaceship.
Okay.
Second, attributing pretend properties like saying the spaceship can fly super fast.
Makes sense.
Third, social interaction within the play, actually playing with others in that pretend world.
Mm-hmm.
Then fourth, role enactment, being the astronaut, the shopkeeper, whatever.
Right.
And finally, number 5 is pretense-related metacommunication. That's the talk about the play.
Like, okay, you be the pilot now, or this is our base.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Negotiating the game itself. And importantly, these can happen when kids play alone or together.
Okay, that's much clearer. 5 components. Now, what about social competence? Sounds kind of big. How did they define that?
It is big. So they used a model, Rose Krasner's PRISM model, which Young's and colleagues expanded on. It has 3 layers, basically.
Layers, okay.
The first, the theoretical layer, is just a basic ability to successfully take part in social interactions.
Okay, fundamental ability. What's next?
The indexical layer, this is how we actually see it in behavior.
Uh-huh.
Things like sociometric status, basically their social standing with peers,
Mm-hmm.
are they liked, ignored, rejected,
Mm-hmm.
and also pro-social behavior, helping, sharing, comforting others, those kinds of actions.
So the observable stuff. And the last layer.
That's the skills layer. These are the underlying abilities needed for the other 2 layers. Shunj et al. List 5 key ones.
5 skills. Okay, what are they?
First, social encoding, reading social cues like
Yeah.
facial expressions, tone of voice.
Right, interpreting people.
Second, social problem solving, figuring out how to handle social situations, achieve social goals.
And navigating conflicts, maybe?
That's part of it, yeah. Third is emotion regulation, managing your own feelings in social settings, keeping cool or expressing appropriately.
Crucial.
Fourth, communicative competence, using language effectively, understanding others.
Okay.
And fifth, empathy, understanding, and sharing others' feelings, perspective taking. So yeah, it's complex.
Wow, yeah, that PRISM model really maps it out. Now, Vygotsky came up earlier. The analysis links his ideas to why pretend play might boost these social skills. Can you unpack that connection?
Sure. Vygotsky's theory, chat, suggests our higher mental functions, like social competence, develop through participating in shared cultural activities. And in early childhood, pretend play is a huge way kids do this. Playing house, doctor, school. They're imitating the social roles and interactions they see.
So it's like a rehearsal, a safe space to practice social stuff.
Exactly. They're practicing internalizing social scripts, trying on different perspectives, especially, as the study notes, when they mimic those good adult behaviors. The caring doctor, the cooperative builder.
Right.
And another big piece, especially in social pretend play, is negotiation.
Ah, yeah, deciding the story, the roles.
Who gets to be what the rules are.
Right.
Learning to hash that out, communicate ideas, resolve those little conflicts. Vygotsky saw that as direct practice for social competence.
Okay, so the theory makes a strong case. What did the meta-analysis actually find then? Looking across all those studies, what's the bottom line?
Well, the main finding was, yes, overall, there's a positive relationship between pretend play and social competence in these early years.
Okay,
And they highlight this was true no matter how the different studies measured social competence.
that sounds pretty solid. So, case closed. Pretend play builds social skills.
But hold on a sec. While the link was positive, they also found the effect size was actually quite small.
Small, meaning
Meaning, even though the connection is statistically there, its practical impact might not be massive. And the confidence intervals, the range where the true effect likely lies, were pretty wide, suggesting some uncertainty about how strong that link really is.
Okay, so a connection exists, but maybe not a giant lever we can pull. And
Sure.
does it tell us which way the connection goes? Does play cause the skills?
That's the other really crucial point. No, it doesn't tell us about causation. Most studies were cross-sectional, just a snapshot in time.
Right, correlation isn't causation.
Exactly. It could be that play helps skills,
Yeah.
but it could also be that kids with better social skills just play more, or play in more complex ways. Or maybe some other factor influences both play and social skills. We can't tell from this type of analysis alone.
Okay, so the relationship is there, but it's complex, maybe modest, and the why is still fuzzy. Now, you mentioned nuances factors that change the picture. What did they find there?
Yeah, some really interesting wrinkles. First up, age.
Age? How so?
The analysis found the positive link actually gets a bit weaker as kids get older, between 3 and 8.
Weaker.
Really?
Oh.
They estimated the correlation might be about 0.26 points higher for a 3-year-old compared to an 8-year-old.
Wow. So maybe it's especially important for the really little ones, like laying a foundation.
That's definitely one interpretation.
Yeah.
Perhaps as kids get older, they develop social skills through other avenues too.
Hmm.
More structured games, direct instruction, different kinds of peer interaction.
Yeah.
So pretend play becomes, relatively speaking, a bit less central for this specific outcome.
Fascinating. Okay, so age matters. What else?
Another key finding was about the amount versus the quality of pretend play.
Amount like time spent, quality like, how imaginative it is.
Exactly. They found that studies measuring the quality of play, how complex the narratives were, the depth of role-taking, the interaction quality, showed stronger links to social competence than studies just measuring how much time kids spent pretending.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Just clocking hours might not do as much as really engaging in rich, complex play with others.
Precisely. It points towards how kids are playing being potentially more important than just that they're playing, at least for social skills. The richness matters.
Okay, quality over mere quantity. Did they look at playing alone versus playing with others?
They did. They did a follow-up analysis just on the amount of play, comparing solitary versus social. And they found that the amount of solitary pretend play showed lower correlations with social confidence compared to the amount of social pretend play.
Which fits that Vygotsky idea again, right?
Yeah.
Learning through interaction.
It aligns nicely, yes. The social back and forth seems important, but they also caution, again, about interpretation.
How so?
Well, it's also possible that kids who already struggle socially might get excluded more often and therefore end up playing alone more.
Right. So the solitary play could be a symptom, not just a cause of lower skills, that directionality issue again.
Exactly. It keeps popping up.
Okay, so we have the overall link, the age factor, quality versus quantity, social versus solitary. But the analysis also pointed out limitations in the research itself. What were the main weaknesses?
Quite a few important ones. We've hit the biggest. Most studies being cross-sectional, so no firm conclusions on cause and effect. They really hammer this point home.
Yeah, can't stress that enough. What else?
A major issue is the lack of consistency across studies. How they defined and measured pretend play varied a lot. Same for social competence.
Makes it hard to compare results properly.
Very hard. It's like comparing apples and, well, slightly different apples, maybe oranges sometimes. What's high-quality play in one study might be different in another. Teacher ratings here, observations there. It gets messy.
Gotcha. Other issues.
They noted few studies actually looked at social competence predicting pretend play. It's mostly assumed play influences skills, but maybe good skills lead to better play. We need more research looking at it that way, too.
Right, testing the reverse possibility.
Precisely. Another big one, a lack of understanding about the specific mechanisms. How exactly does pretend play help? Is it the role-taking, the negotiation, the emotion practice? The studies they reviewed don't really isolate those specific pathways yet.
So we know there's a link, but not the precise how.
Not yet, though they mentioned some newer studies are starting to dig into that, like looking at play quality as a mediator.
Okay. Any other major limitations?
Yes, a significant bias towards weird countries. Western, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic.
Ah, so findings might not apply everywhere.
Exactly. Play looks different across cultures. It's valued differently. What counts as good play or competent social behavior can also be culturally specific or even specific to a school's norms.
That's a crucial point about generalizability.
Absolutely. They also mention varying methodological quality among the included studies, potential biases like in intervention studies where the researcher also rates the outcome, and the fact they excluded gray literature unpublished studies.
Which could mean published studies might skew towards positive findings. Publication bias.
It's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah.
And they specifically didn't include studies just on imaginary companions or general fantasy orientation, keeping the focus tight on pretend play actions.
Okay, so a valuable overview, but clearly highlights where the gaps are, which leads naturally to what's next? What did they recommend for future research?
Several key things. Top of the list, more consistency. We need more unified, standardized ways to define and measure both pretend play and social competence so studies can actually build on each other effectively.
Standardize the tools, makes sense. What else?
They strongly push for more experimental and longitudinal designs.
To get at that cause and effect.
Exactly. Experimental studies where you actively manipulate play opportunities or types can test causality.
Hmm.
Longitudinal studies following kids over time can show how play and skills develop and influence each other dynamically.
Right, moving beyond those single snapshots.
Definitely. And alongside that, digging into the mechanisms, research needs to really explore what it is about pretend play that supports social development. Isolate those potential pathways, role-taking, negotiation, emotional expression, etc.
Finding the active ingredients, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They also stress the need to minimize measurement bias in future work.
And they had a point about play interventions too, right? Getting the balance right.
Yes. They suggest researchers need to think carefully about the level of structure versus child-led freedom in play interventions. You need enough structure for research rigor, but not so much that you kill the spontaneity and engagement that makes play, well, playful and potentially beneficial.
Finding that sweet spot between control and natural play.
Right. It's a tricky balance.
Okay, so better designs, focus on mechanisms, more consistency, cultural awareness, careful interventions, a clear roadmap for future work.
It really is. And it underlines that while this meta-analysis is super helpful, the story of play and social skills is still being written.
Okay, so let's distill this for our listener. If you had to give the main message from this deep dive, what would it be?
The core message is, yes, research suggests a positive link between pretend play and social competence in young kids. But, and this is a big but, the relationship isn't simple.
Yeah.
The effect size seems modest, and we absolutely cannot say, based on this, that play causes better social skills. The evidence isn't there for that kind of causal claim yet.
And we have those really interesting nuances, and it might matter more for younger kids. And the quality of the play, especially social play, seems more strongly linked than just the amount of time spent playing.
Exactly, those points. And always remembering the limitations, the measurement, inconsistencies, the lack of causal evidence, the need to understand the how. Future research has its work cut out for it.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If we see this positive link and know that high-quality social pretend play seems particularly connected, especially for the younger ones, what does that suggest for us? For parents, educators, how might we think about supporting play? Should the focus shift more towards facilitating those richer, more complex, interactive, pretend play scenarios, particularly in those crucial early years?
That's a really great question to ponder. It pushes us beyond just letting them play,
Mm-hmm.
towards thinking about how we might actively scaffold or enrich those play experiences to potentially maximize the social benefits.
Definitely food for thought. Take a look at the play around you. Does it line up with what we've discussed? What kinds of pretend play seem to really get kids interacting and negotiating? It's a fascinating area, still unfolding. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.